Okay, so the Yankees lost on Sunday, and I don't really want to talk much about this game. It wasn't a very fun watch by any means. I want to talk about some, I don't even know if I want to say solutions, potential solutions, some options for the Yankees. The Yankees have several problems right now. And look, I will say this within the context. It's good to have several problems while you're still in first place, while you still have a winning record. You're 19 and 15. It's not like, this is a doomsday scenario. They're spiraling. It's time to sell, sell, sell. But there are some problems for a team that, quite frankly, has high expectations. And maybe this is not a team that you came into the season thinking they're going to go back to the World Series necessarily, although they have a shot, in the American League, which is just not as strong as the National League this year. But this was definitely a team that was going to compete for the American League East, and definitely a team that should be a playoff team. And they have been both of those things through the first 5 weeks of the season. However, there are some recurring problems that need to be addressed. And we talked a lot on Sunday's show about the lineup, and particularly those that were not Aaron Judge in the lineup. And, we saw a solid game from Trent Grisham. Cody Bellinger hits a 2-run home run. But there's a lot of the issues that plagued other players in the lineup continued to plague them against Tampa in the series finale on Sunday. What we need to talk about now is the back half of the rotation and what the Yankees might need to look forward to. I don't know if they're going to make a move in the month of May, but once June comes around and we get into the later, get into the summer, I do think they're going to need to make an add to that rotation. And you obviously have Max Fried at the top that's been excellent. Carlos Rodon's been really good lately, and even if he isn't going anywhere. And then you've kind of got a mixed bag, of guys that are either injured right now, have shown some promise, or just quite frankly just been bad. Clark Schmidt has not been phenomenal in his starts so far this year, but you still like what his potential is and can be. And we'll see what he looks like on Tuesday. He has a left flank injury. All of a sudden, the Yankees have flank problems. Almost never heard that term used to describe injuries, and now we've heard it twice in a week. But he's someone that still, when healthy, is going to have that rotation spot. Then you've got the other two guys right now, and that's Carlos Carrasco and Will Warren, both who pitched on Sunday because obviously Carrasco got bumped from his Tuesday start with Schmidt not going on Saturday. He got bumped back to Tuesday. Yarbrough got that start, but neither one were good in their outings. Will Warren was... This is kind of what he is right now. He is all over the place. He's got some really good stuff, and you could see it in his swings and misses, and you could see it in his strikeout numbers. 4 2/3 innings, 8 strikeouts. But he also allowed 10 base runners, 7 hits, 3 walks. He allowed a home run, 5 runs, 3 earned. He looks to be a piece for the future, and I think if I were to look at what he has done so far this year, I would still say if we were looking at a long-term outlook, I would be very encouraged because I see something special in what he has. He's got some pieces that you really like from him. And you take a look at some of his mix, and he really does use 5 pitches. 4 primarily. He works in the curveball about 5% of the time, but he works, four-seamer, sweeper, changeup, sinker. Like he works the exact thing that you tend to believe this era of Yankees pitchers tend to run. And he has some really good stuff. Like I'm taking a look at like his whiff rate right now. Is in the 73rd percentile. His K rate in the 65th percentile. So he's getting, that's not elite, but that is well above average for any starter, more or less somebody that is the back end of your rotation. He is getting a ton of swing and misses. He does get a solid ground ball percentage as well, as you would expect for somebody that has, a lot of movement and a guy that uses a sinker, a little less than, 17% of the time. The issue is his location is all over the map. He's getting hit. When he does get hit, he's getting hit hard. And obviously these are not the same pitchers, and I'm not comparing them in any way. Other than to say that, like, to kind of illustrate the point, I'm going to call it the Mason Miller effect and what's going on in Sacramento with the A's of, Miller's got obviously unbelievable stuff, and he gets a ton of swings and misses. But when opponents make contact with it, the ball goes a long way. It's kind of what's happening here a little bit. Like right now, you look at the exit velocity against him is in the 5th percentile. Hard hit, 5th percentile. Barrel rate, 19th percentile. That's really, really bad. And, it's one of those things where he's walking too many guys and he's allowing too many hard hits. So he's either getting the strikeout, he's either making guys whiff, or they're hitting the ball really hard, or he's walking them. And, and that's honestly what he's been all year. So he's going to need some refinement. I would probably like to see him have another year or the rest of the season in AAA. But the Yankees are in a tough spot right now where, they can't, really, they don't have anybody to replace these guys right now, at least until Heel comes back. Because, Stroman's been hurt and we don't really have a timeline on him. Heel's out, Cole's out for the year, Brubaker is out. Beater's going to miss, probably the rest of the year, I imagine. I didn't see what his end of surgery is going to be, but I don't think he's a player that's likely to come back. Chase Hampton's hurt. You know what I mean? Like you don't really have anybody in your system that's a starter that's ready to come up and play for you. So you're waiting for Heel, you're waiting for Stroman, and quite frankly, Stroman hasn't been good. It's not like you're that excited to get Stroman back out there. So you're going to have to look outside of the organization to find some help. And you start to kind of look around at, where that help could potentially come. It's probably not going to come through free agency. Right now you've got Anthony DeSclafani, Spencer Turnbull, Ross Stripling. None of those guys are going to come in and help you. And you start to look at what could, pieces on the trade market could be. And obviously the name that everybody has been pointing to pretty much since the winter has been Marlins starter Sandy Alcantara, who's off to a dreadful start to the year. Right now his ERA is 8.31, and even his FIP is over 5.5. So he's off to a really dreadful start. He has his lowest K rate and highest walk rate, or should say his lowest K rate of his career and highest walk rate since his rookie season. Well, I guess you could. I don't know if it's technically, he might have not surpassed the rookie thresholds, but that second season, his first in Miami, when he pitched 34 innings, and he had a super high walk rate. That's the highest it's been since then. He's got the highest homer rate since then. It's not good. His home run per fly ball is the highest of his career since his cup of coffee with St. Louis back in 2017. It's not to say that you won't bring him in or he's done or anything of that nature, but this is a case of somebody that is also still trying to work through some things so far this year. But he is the most likely potential option for the Yankees if they're going to find somebody. And, will his price come down with that poor start? I guess you got to see. They're not trading for him tomorrow, so you don't know what's going to happen, between now and then. But, right now, it's all of his numbers are way off. His fastball velo's fine. He's still getting a ton of ground balls. This is a guy that relies heavily on a sinker. He's more of a sinker changeup four seam type of a guy with slider. Like, again, another guy that makes 5 pitches pretty consistently, all above 10%. His changeup, slider, sinker, four-seam, and curve. I would say probably a sinker change is probably the primary combo for him so far, and it pretty much always has been. He's worked the curve in a lot more this year than he has in previous years of his career. He didn't really throw it at all in 2022. He threw it about 2% of the time in 2023, and he's throwing it over 10% of the time so far this season. So he's worked in that 5th pitch for himself. But, again, the Yankees love the guys that can go, that use sinker slider, a lot. And that's the case here with his four-seam and change mixed in. But right now, it's not in sync for him. And he's really struggling with the walks. He's not striking guys out, and that's a little bit of a combination of both. But he's also working his way back up. He hadn't pitched since 2023. So there's maybe a little bit less concern about him trying to find his way there now. But, he's somebody that I think the Yankees need to keep a really close eye on as they continue to look for options. Another name potentially is Steven Matz. Is a guy to keep an eye on as well. He's having a really strong start to the season. He's only started 2 of his 9 games, but you wonder if the Yankees will put him in a position, to find that a spot in the rotation again. He's only started 9 games now over the last 2 years, but he could be a potential option that's cheaper. Although again, I would strongly prefer Alcantara. But then you start to look at maybe some other guys that are sitting, I don't think Cease is going anywhere right now with the Padres playing so well. That was another name that was connected pretty heavily to the Yankees. You start to look at some other pitchers. I don't see, the Pirates moving on from any of their guys, or the Braves, or, the Cardinals are the ones to watch. Maybe a guy like Eric Fetty could also be on the trade block down the road. The Angels could be one as well, and if they were to kind of make that decision, I'm trying to look and see who are some of the guys that could be available. Maybe a Kyle Hendricks, a Tyler Anderson, maybe. You start to look at some of those guys. I don't know if any of those guys really move the needle as much as a guy like Alcantara would move the needle, but they definitely need somebody else, even when Heel comes back. Because I think at this point, Warren would be best served being working through some things at AAA for the rest of the year with an idea that he has a shot at earning a rotation spot again next offseason. Carrasco at this point, I really don't. Good guy, but don't really care if he's on the team or not at this point going forward. Stroman, even when he comes back, I really don't want him in the rotation at all. So to me, if you're able to add Heel and let's say a guy like Alcantara to Rodon, Fried, and Schmidt, I'd feel a lot better about where that rotation lies going into the season. So, that's kind of the rundown of what happened here. And, before I end the show, I do want to give a shout out to somebody, even though, the Yankees end up fighting back fairly late here. And a big reason why was a 2-run single for his first career hit for Yorbit Vivas. Give him a shout out for coming in a clutch situation in the 8th inning to give the Yankees a chance to come back and win this game. And, he's gotten that opportunity with Jazz Chisholm injured, and it looks like it's a multi-week injury for Chisholm. So we might not see him at all in the month of May, but at least not till late May. Really glad to see him get that opportunity. I'm really glad to see Bellinger hit another home run. As we've talked about, the guys in the lineup behind Judge, Rice, who got the day off aside from a pinch hit opportunity, and Paul Goldschmidt. We need those guys to really step up as the season goes along, and it was good to see that. But in the meantime, all eyes are still going to be on this rotation, and all eyes are going to be on what the Yankees can do to improve. And, at the deadline, they need a couple other pieces. Third base is going to be a need. A right-handed bat off the bench is going to be a need. And our starters absolutely going to be in need. So maybe a little early here on Cinco de Mayo to be talking about potential trade deadline acquisitions, but this is a team that wants to win the division, and it is a very winnable division. They still sit atop right now. They're going to need some reinforcements, and they don't have to go crazy, But they're going to need some help. And I think they're going to be able to find it. In the free agent market, probably not. But they'll be able to find it on the trade market.